Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, welcome back to Soul Archaeology. Wow. What a wild next few weeks we have approaching. We've been so in the depths of Pisces season, swimming through the deep waters of winter, closing up chapters, tying up loose ends. Pisces represents the 12th house in astrology. The 12th house is about endings. It's about big revelations, about sifting through the deep layers of what's held within the closets of our being, perhaps where we hold illusion, where we are not privy to what's playing out within our subconscious, what's playing out in the subtle realms. And I did a whole episode on that, the last two, so I'm not going to focus much on Pisces because it is ending on the 19th of this week. So we are entering into a new chapter in many, many different ways. On the 19th, we enter into Aries season. It's also the spring equinox, and it's the beginning of a new astrological year. So the theme of new beginnings is really here. And we've been feeling the energy of the eclipse that's landing on March 25th. So next Monday, really already building, because eclipses, I believe that the eclipse portal opens a month before and lingers a month after the last eclipse. And so we're really in it. We're in this storm, this cyclone, this opportunity for such deep radical change, new beginnings. Pisces is an ethereal water sign. It has us swimming in the depths of our subconscious, in the depths of the ethereal realm, swimming through our mental and emotional field. Aries is all about embodiment. It's all about initiation, change, action. It's a fire sign. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the beginning of the astrological year. It's the spring equinox. It's such a powerful turning point this time of year. It's really the beginning of the year in a lot of ways, and energetically, that's what is being presented, is the energy of regeneration, renewal, rebirth. It just so happens to also land on the equinox, the spring equinox. And the equinox is when we have equal parts, day and night, when we have just as much light as we have dark. And from this point forward, we begin to invite in more light, more change, more initiation, the sprouts of new beginnings. I know here in Los Angeles, at least, it's spring, or it will be spring, and there are wildflowers everywhere that are beginning to pop. We have in our garden so many new blooms coming forward from the previous owners who lived here for many, many years. And it's just such a breath of fresh air. I feel like last week was kind of the first hint of spring. The sun feels different. It feels different on my skin. The earth looks different. It's welcomed all the water that we've had over this very watery winter season we've had here in Los Angeles. And I do always say that thresholds hold a lot of charge. So this threshold we're in, this closing of a chapter, a whole astrological year, merging with the beginning of a new astrological year, merging with the beginning of spring, merging with the initiation from water to fire, brings many layers. And thresholds hold all that we need to work through, to understand, to integrate in order to pass through more embodied, whole, understanding, aware. And there's oftentimes grief held in these thresholds as well, because we're leaving a place, leaving an emotion, leaving a pattern, leaving a level to enter into a new one. And the grief of letting go of what was in order to enter into what's to come is real. I really feel that through every transition. Transitions for me are, I wouldn't say they're difficult or hard, because I'm a pretty, flexible, open, attuned human, but I always feel grief and change, regardless of what the change is. Even if I know that it's so positive and aligned, there's a little part of me that grieves the letting go of what was, even if it wasn't serving. And this winter has held, I know for so many of us, it's been such an intense time with all of the Aquarian action, the Plutonic action that we've had over the last 6 months. As we reflect back on the last 6 months, because we are entering a new eclipse portal as well, there's just so much shifting, so many transitions happening all at once this week. And when we look back to the last 6 months, the last year, the last few months even of winter, so much has changed. So much has been brought forward into our awareness, brought to the surface to be witnessed, seen, prayed over. Winter is in so many ways a contraction. It's a space of turning inward, retracting into oneself, and sitting with what's there, allowing it to cook down, to stew. And now that we're emerging into the light, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in the process of springing open, of uncoiling, of receiving more light. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, you're navigating the shift from summer to autumn, which is such a precious time as well. But since we're in the Northern Hemisphere here, I'll focus on this uncoiling of spring, finding the resources, the safety within us that allow our nervous systems to open, to uncoil, to really feel the light, to feel the sun, to feel the heat, the life force we need to move forward, to take action, to initiate the change within our lives that's feeling pressing or present. There's so much that wants to be birthed through you. There's so much that wants to be held as you emerge into this new chapter. There's so much wisdom, action, lessons and learnings that are coming through you right now. Can you hold the letting go of that safe space of winter, of that contraction, of that inward spiral, in order to emerge into spring more resourced, more whole? This might not feel like a huge shift, or you might have been feeling it build up towards this point. I know I have. I've really felt the energy of eclipse season the last few days especially. And this eclipse is in Libra. It's a full moon eclipse, a lunar eclipse in Libra. And it's all about relationships, about noticing any tendencies for self-absorption or self-centeredness, or a lack of ability to leave the wound to see the reality. As it's a full moon, lunar eclipse, it means we're releasing during this eclipse. And this eclipse is on March 25th, on Monday, here in the Northern Hemisphere, here in LA. And so next episode will be all about eclipses, but I do encourage you to go back to episodes 10 through 14 of Soul Archaeology, because I do a really deep breakdown of the nodes in Aries and Libra, what it's asking for us, the medicine of it, how we can work with it. It talks all about this eclipse axis, what an eclipse is. It's really my eclipse guide. And so instead of just repeating all of that, I want to really focus on the nuances of this energy. What we can really expect this week as we build towards a pretty intense weekend, the lunar eclipse on Monday, the 25th. We have a lot of action, a lot of initiation, a lot of fire. And because we've been so deep in the cosmic waters of Pisces, it can feel a little jarring to enter into this week. I know that even my physical body, I'm feeling a lot of energy building. And before I would have acknowledged that or really thought it was anxiety, because that's what it feels like. But really it's my life force turning on. It's in my solar plexus. It's in my diaphragm. I can feel this real need to initiate, to move, to create. And sometimes we can get an excess of that gets built up, and it can feel like anxiety. And it's really important to acknowledge the somatic experience within what's coming forward. There are emotions tied to our life force. There are emotions tied to our energies of all different kinds. And so we can feel a certain thing and it can activate within us fear or emotion of any different kind. It can activate fear, anxiety, grief. And so it's important to just notice where that emotion is within your body, within your physical form, especially anger right now, because we're moving into Aries season. And there's a lot of relational energy in the field, a lot of relational work being asked of us currently. Because Aries is the sign of the self. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the initiation into this evolutionary process that we're in. It's all about the development of a sense of self. It's about the physical body. It's the initiatory phase of the self-actualization. It's related to birth, to the spiraling out from our center. It creates. It's a cardinal sign, which is tied to initiation, beginnings. It's a fire sign, so it's yang energy moving outward from the center. It's active, it's dry, it's male. It's associated with Mars, the planet of war, the planet of aggression, of action, of movement, change. The planet of initiation. It can also bring forward anger and rage, resentment. In its shadow, it can be so focused on the self that it loses the whole. It loses touch with the other, with balance, harmony. And this is part of Aries' job, right? It's to bring us into action. It's to help us initiate. It's to create change. It's to focus on the self. And so we have this balancing occurring currently. This call to the self, to our inward state, to look at the ways in which we do self-abandon. We do focus too much on the external. We reprioritize balancing the state of the other or of the external over our own internal balance. And these are all shadow aspects of Libra, with the lunar eclipse being in Libra, with the moon being conjunct the south node. So much of the past is coming forward this week, especially because we have a Venus and Saturn conjunction this week as well. Venus, which is the planet of resources, values, relationships, will be conjunct Saturn on March 25th. Saturn is the planet of rules, of maturation, of restriction, of discipline, of karma. And so we will be asked to really confront our participation in our current relationships, in our current and past relationships, in where we've been. There might be realizations that come forward this week around patterning that you hold. I know so many of my clients in my mentorship currently, we're doing really deep relational work. We are so far into the relational framework that we're peeling apart and uncoiling the patterns that have been there for decades. Usually, since birth, when our first attachments formed in those first few years, especially when we start to relate to the other. If we think about Aries, we can see it almost as a baby. It's our first separation from the womb. It's our first experience of life outside of connection to the mother. And so it's really this point where we begin the development of the self, but through connection with safety, with the other. And I know so many people relate to Aries in its shadow and relate to Libra in its shadow. And that's really just dysfunctional attachment patterns and dysfunctional connection points and how we view connection, either through the lens of more separation is safer, a more avoidant pattern, or that separation means death. Separation feels unsafe, which is a more anxious patterning held within the body and within the psyche. So this is a very revealing week. We have, of course, the ending of Pisces season, so this sort of threshold of beginnings and endings as we end the 12th sign of the zodiac, move from water to fire into the first sign of the zodiac, Aries. We have the equinox, the balancing, the harmonizing of our planet. And then we enter straight into this conjunction between Venus and Saturn. These planets are very different. And we have this meeting of the two in the sign of Pisces, revealing to us any illusions that we have, any separation from self that creates unhealthy patterns and dynamics within our relationships, not only our romantic relationships, but our friendships, our relationships of all kind, especially our relationship to self. This Aries season is not messing around. April is not messing around. We also have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happening on April 20th. You can get a lot of that information on my 2024 forecast episode. It's so funny in podcasting because you create so much content and you don't want to just keep repeating yourself. So you have to refer back to the content that you already created. So I always hear people doing that and I totally get it because it's a lot. It's a lot of content to create. And so it's nice that it lives here. So I do recommend that you go back to episodes 10 through 14 that I recorded last year when we were in our first series of eclipses along this axis of Aries and Libra. Episode 10 especially is a deep lunar node dive. So it's rich, nutrient-dense content that holds a lot of information about this axis, about lunar nodes. Episode 13 and 14 are specifically about the eclipses along these nodes. And that's really the energy we're building into. You know, we're in Aries season. We're in the opposition to Libra. We're asking for the conscious warrior to come forward, our evolved, action-oriented self who can acknowledge the importance of balance, but also the need for action, the need for self-responsibility, for change, for ownership. When I feel into the energy of right now in the Northern Hemisphere in particular, I just feel the deep rumblings of the earth. I feel her emergence. I feel her fire turning on. I just saw there was a huge volcanic eruption happening in Iceland, which is just there's certain places on the earth I think that are such important grid lines or spaces that really reflect the true nature of our Earth's current state. And Iceland is one of those places that's so active and so on the surface, revealing what's happening internally. And she's evolving. The earth is evolving. And that's why we're being forced to evolve at the rate at which we are. We're in a pressure cooker because she is. She's choosing the path of evolution. And it can feel tricky. It can feel like a pressure cooker. Like I said, it can feel intense and uncomfortable, and all of those spaces are important because they reveal to us where we hold resistance to change. And so this week, just really allowing yourself to lean into change. Aries season can sometimes feel a little isolating because there's so much focus on the self. There's so much, oftentimes, comparison to what others are doing, what others are creating. You might see, in your community or on social media this week, so many people making big shifts. Just allow yourself to be where you are. Allow the past to come forward as a sweet little reminder of where you've been and what you no longer need to hold on to. Allow it to wash over you, but not to consume you. You might be feeling a lot of past life energies surface this week, which are so connected to Saturn, our karma, where we've been, our evolutionary process in this life, with the lunar node building, with the lunar eclipse building, currently, and the energy we begin to start feeling towards the 25th, it's going to bring up a lot of the past. Look at the patterning within your past relationships, within the relationship you're in now, the relationships you're in now. How do you show up? How do the other people show up? What wants to be witnessed, held, seen within that space? Releasing your grip. I know I talked a lot about that last week, but that's still the medicine. Eclipse season is not a time to manifest or to grip or control the outcome of things. It's a time to witness the immensity of this cosmic space that we live within, the power of not only your free will, but the power of the universe and you as a piece and a part of it, the whole. Trust that where you're being guided is where you need to go. Trust that the conflict that's coming up right now is here to ripen you, to encourage you to make a change that aligns you with your future timeline. Create space to feel all of this, to witness yourself in this space of transition, to go through the rapids on this river of this lived experience, trusting that it's a temporary space, but that there's a lot of medicine here, and then it's simply your job to witness it. I'll be doing a full eclipse deep dive for next week's episode, but I just want you this week to really notice the build. Notice what charge is building, what you're feeling and sensing, how you can find comfort in that space. Enough comfort to fully let go and to trust that the rapids are bringing you where you need to land on the other side. This spring might feel different because we're spending it in the trenches of our initiations. We're spending it in eclipse season, where so much change is being asked of us, so much release and letting go, so much surrender. Trust, faith, dig deeper and deeper for your roots. It can feel like a pressure cooker, like I said. So just let it be what it is. Try not to fix anything. Try not to twist or contort anything into something that it's not meant to be. And let yourself sit in the discomfort of this fiery place. As you know, the phoenix rises from the ashes. And so fire is needed for alchemy. It's needed to cook things down. It's needed to ripen or condense or create enough pressure to crystallize something. Heat is required for alchemy. So just let yourself find that comfortable place, cooking over the fire, witnessing what's uncomfortable about it, witnessing your tendency to want to sort of control or contort or shape something prematurely, to identify something prematurely, and just to simply witnessing the patterning. Try not to react, but respond. This eclipse portal in particular has a lot of energy of anger in it, and anger is connected to the liver. This is a season of the liver, of course, so tend to your liver, maybe a really beautiful liver detox, liver detoxifying foods like dandelion, milk thistle, somatic practices to move anger through your body, not just to get rid of it, but to feel your power, and that you're not in a space of shutdown or collapse, but you're actually in a space of mobilization. I have a very, very, very special group immersion happening at the incredible nature retreat ritual in the mountains of Topanga that I'm so excited about. It begins in a few weeks. It begins right at the edge of eclipse season. It's in person, which I'm so excited about, and it's a group immersion. It'll be a small group, so a very intimate group of probably 6 people, and it's really focused on the work that I do, which is the integration of self and working through the womb space to access our innate feminine power, to process through a lot of what we're discovering and sensing and feeling and moving through during this eclipse season. It's such an important and powerful time to utilize the energy of initiation that we have access to right now. It's a set of 4 different in-person sessions that will be held at Ritual, which is, like I said, a nature refuge, a retreat in the Santa Monica Mountains between Topanga and Malibu. If you've never been there, it is one of the most magical places I've ever been to in the world. We'll be working as a group. I'm also offering intake sessions before the group sessions. So we'll be sitting down together one-on-one over Zoom, really working through and identifying the patterns that you're wanting to activate during this time together. Then we'll be meeting bi-weekly on Saturdays during April and May. The first date is April 6th, and then we meet on April 20th, May 4th, and May 18th. So this is actually a really, really powerful time to do this work. It'll be during the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, just really harnessing the alchemy that we have access to right now. You can find more information on my Instagram, my link in bio. I will also be adding it to my show notes, so you can find it there. It's going to be a really powerful experience as we navigate this space together to create a little community, a group. And I also wanted to let you know that my mentorship is currently full. Thank you to all of you who reached out about wanting to work together, to collaborate. I'll be opening another opening in June, so you can schedule a clarity call now for that if you'd like. If you want to wait until closer to June, that's fine as well, but just know that I am available for one-on-one sessions outside of the mentorship. You can find all of that information on my website, on my Instagram, link in bio, and in the show notes. And the card I pulled today for the Soul Archaeology community, so this is meant for all of you out there. It might not resonate now, it might resonate in a week from now, but it's downloading into your consciousness for you to receive the medicine and the wisdom that you need to navigate this week. It's the Wave card from the Untamed Elemental Deck. And it's all about unity. Wave's duration is unbounded. He loops consistently within his own tempo. He is fearless and valiant, speaking repeatedly through constant diligence. Forged by wind and initiated by moon, he is a conundrum both distinct and inseparable from the ocean. Each wave is unique and yet emanates from and returns to his mother element. His potential manifests as an eternal flow. Wave rolls in as a reminder that you are part of something much greater than your individual life. You are a fantastic and improbable expression of existence. The creative force that generates and organizes life of every animal, star, snowflake, plant, and nebula in the universe also chose to experience itself uniquely and beautifully as you, and vice versa. Knowing yourself as an autonomous but inseparable participant in all of life helps allay painful perceptions of separation from others and even unclaimed parts of yourself. It opens you to the truth-filled salve that it is safe to rest into your innate and magnificent connection with your wholeness and all of life. When it's balanced, you experience an enjoyable sense of connection with oneself. When it's imbalanced, loneliness and isolation, a pervasive mistrust of one's intuition. To bring into balance, the sound of ocean waves balances the brain's hemispheres and helps bring forth an awareness of unity consciousness. So I love this card for now because it really relates to the importance of your awareness around the axis of self and others, the relationship to self and how it impacts the whole, how it impacts your connections, and the importance of really allowing yourself to travel to the spaces within you where you feel separate or alone, isolated, and apply the salve of connection to that space. Finding your connection point to self, but your connection point to everything, to the universe, to God, to source, to others, to nature, and not getting lost in your own internal experience, but remembering the importance of the experience as a whole. Thank you so much for being here, for your patience, as this episode was a little bit later than I intended it for it to be, but I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for your constant support, your sharing of the episodes on social media, your feedback, your reviews. I've listened or read through some of the reviews lately, and it's just the best feeling in the world. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I'll see you soon.